Hey friends, welcome to a new video. Today I am so excited to be sharing with you all a book outlet book haul. I have already opened the box and taken a peek at what's inside, but I have not looked through everything just yet, so I'm very excited to do so. I know I just recently filmed a book haul, but I have tried my very best to decrease the spending, and for me and my book buying habits, I think I've been doing pretty good. And I also mentioned in that book haul that there was a book outlet order just waiting to happen. It happened. Here we are. But before we go over the book outlet order, I do want to share a couple books and a puzzle that I got today from a bookshop. It's one of my absolute favorite bookshops, and I try to go as much as I possibly can. It is a little bit of a drive, but in my area, it's really hard to find a lot of classics and classics editions of books that are less known. You can find Jane Eyre anywhere. You can find books like Great Expectations anywhere, but a lot of the less known classics and authors are really difficult to find, and I end up just always ordering online. But I was very happy to find a classic at this shop. That is Armadale by Wilkie Collins. And I don't know what this is about, but I've heard really great things about this book. Just a little bookmark that came with it. I like what it says on the back though, and I don't feel like it spoils the story. But there's just one blurb and it says, Armadale explores notions of heredity, the divided self, the Victorian marriage laws, and the social constraints on women in the shape of a story that grips the reader from start to finish. And it looks like there's murder, rivalry, intrigue, and a woman with a complex past who is both a villain and a victim. So I'm very intrigued, and I love Wilkie Collins' writing, so I'm very excited for this book. I won't get to it this Victober, but I'm so excited. It's huge. Very happy with this find. I was also very excited to find The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. This is the 4th book, and I believe it's the final book in the Thursday Murder Club mystery series. And I just adore this series so much. I loved the first 3 books. The 3rd book was my favorite, so I'm very curious to see if this one is just as good. I did give the 3rd book 5 stars, so we'll see with this one, but I was so excited to see it at this bookstore. The summary in here, it doesn't spoil the first 3 books, but it sounds so good. It says, it's rarely a quiet day for the Thursday Murder Club. Shocking news reaches them. An old friend has been killed and a dangerous package he was protecting has gone missing. The gang's search leads them into the antiques business, where the tricks of the trade are as old as the objects themselves. As they encounter drug dealers, art forgers, and online fraudsters, as well as heartache close to home, Elizabeth, Joyce, Ron, and Ibrahim have no idea whom to trust. With the body count rising, the clock ticking down, and trouble firmly on their tail, has their luck finally run out? And who will be the last devil to die? I can't wait. I cannot wait to read this book. I'm so excited. And now for the puzzle. This I got because it's Victober, and it just made my heart so happy when I saw this puzzle. I needed to have it. And that is The World of the Brontes, a jigsaw puzzle with over 50 characters to find. It is absolutely stunning. And the back here just shows you what the picture is. I am absolutely obsessed with this. I cannot wait to work on this puzzle. Oh my gosh. So it says, piece together the world of the Brontes from their childhood fantasy lands to the novels that made them household names. Travel across the blustery Yorkshire moors and into the gloomy schoolrooms and weathered buildings of 19th century England. Spot Cathy and Heathcliff at Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester, and a host of other fictional and real-life characters as you lose yourself in tales of sorrowful romance. I'm also absolutely obsessed with the art style. It is just beautiful. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to work on this. I believe there is The World of Dickens as well. I'd love to get that at some point, but this just made my heart squeal. Okay, so I was hoping to edit and upload this video today as I am filming this little clip, and I ended up going to Costco and found 2 books, which is so random. I did not go to Costco intending to look at their books, but when I saw these, I absolutely needed to get them, and I am so excited, and they're just so beautiful, and I can't contain my excitement. Oh my gosh, I found these 2, and I'm just... First of all, they're gorgeous, and second of all, the reduced prices were absolutely insane. Like, I just... For this one, for example, I've had my eye on it for years, the complete novels of Jane Austen in this gorgeous edition. I've wanted to get it for so long, but it's really pricey. And the Costco price was like a third of the regular price. And I needed to have it. These end papers are gorgeous. Everything about this edition is just beautiful. There's a little picture of Jane Austen there. So it has her 6 main novels. And honestly, I didn't need another edition of any of her books, but I couldn't pass this up. Look at this. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Can't get over it. I'm so excited to find this. And the other one is Classic Tales of Christmas. And oh my goodness. And this one has A Christmas Carol, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, The Little Match Girl, The Gift of the Magi, and other favorites. So I am so ecstatic about this one. And the end papers are absolutely gorgeous. And I believe it's the same artwork on the other side. Just stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah, this one has quite a few stories from different authors. Of course, we have Dickens, we have E.T.A. Hoffmann, who wrote The Nutcracker, Hans Christian Andersen, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Louisa May Alcott, a couple of her short stories, and a couple from Lucy Maud Montgomery. So I am so thrilled about this find as well. I'm so excited. I just love the cover. I love the snowflakes. I love the shade of blue and just all the details. It is so beautiful. I am just so excited about these two. Very random finds at Costco, but I couldn't be more thrilled. Back to the video. And now on to all the Book Outlet books. I believe there are 13 or 14 in here, and these are in no particular order. I'm just going to reach into the box and grab what I grab. The first one here is Laura's Album, a remembrance scrapbook of Laura Ingalls Wilder, compiled by William Anderson. And I've had my eye on this for a while. It's not very long, but it is perfect for anyone who grew up watching Little House on the Prairie, anyone who read the books. And I just, like, my little child heart was so excited when I saw this, because I grew up on Little House on the Prairie. I was absolutely obsessed with the show, and of course I love the books as well, but I was always fascinated by Laura Ingalls and her family. And here are just some portraits of her, of Ma, Pa, Mary, Laura, Carrie, and Grace. I am so excited to read through this entire book, and as a big fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder and her stories and the show, I needed this. And it says, Laura Ingalls Wilder was the beloved author of the classic Little House books. Her life began in the frontier era and spanned almost a century of American history. Laura loved to preserve the mementos of her past, reminders both large and small of daily life. This remarkable collection of Laura's photographs, writings, memorabilia, and keepsakes presents an unforgettable look at the world of Laura Ingalls Wilder and her family. Very excited. All right, and next up we have Premeditated Myrtle. It's very shiny. This is the first book in the Myrtle Hardcastle mystery series, and it is a middle grade mystery series, and I've heard nothing but praise for this book. I think it's Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia who has read this book and really enjoyed it. I may be wrong, Tiffany, but I believe that you read this and enjoyed it. So I think that's who I heard about it from, but it's by Elizabeth Bunce. And this one, I don't know when it's set. Is it Victorian? I'm not sure. But it says, introducing Myrtle Hardcastle, your favorite new amateur detective, a wickedly smart 12-year-old with a keen interest in criminology and a nose for murder. 12-year-old Myrtle Hardcastle has a passion for justice and a highly unconventional obsession with criminal science. Armed with her father's law books and her mum's microscope, Myrtle keeps up with the latest developments in crime scene analysis and observes her neighbors in the quiet village of Swinburne, England. When her next-door neighbor, a wealthy and eccentric breeder of rare flowers, dies under mysterious circumstances, Myrtle seizes her chance. With her unflappable governess, Miss Ada Judson, by her side, Myrtle takes it upon herself to prove Miss Woodhouse was murdered and find the killer, even if nobody believes her. Even her father, the town prosecutor. So I'm not sure when this is set, but that sounds like such a fun story, and I'm very intrigued. Next is Sparks Like Stars by Nadia Hashimi, and this one I've heard incredible things about. It says, the daughter of a prominent family, 10-year-old Sitara lives in privilege in Afghanistan's thriving cosmopolitan capital. But in 1978, a coup shatters her world. When the president and Sitara's entire family are assassinated, only she survives. Smuggled from the scene by a soldier named Shair, Sitara finds her way to the home of a female American diplomat who adopts her. In the United States, Sitara takes on a new name, Ariana Shepherd, and eventually becomes a renowned surgeon. A survivor, Ariana has refused to look back, choosing instead to bury the devastating loss she endured. But 30 years after that fatal night in Kabul, her world is rocked again when an elderly patient appears in her exam room. It is Shair, the soldier who saved her. Seeing him awakens Ariana's desires for answers, and perhaps revenge. Realizing that she cannot go on without learning the truth, Ariana embarks on a quest that takes her back to Kabul, now a battleground between the corrupt government and the fundamentalist Taliban, and through shadowy memories of the world she loved and lost. That sounds intense and heartbreaking and amazing. I also ended up getting 84 Charing Cross Road, which I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I've heard amazing things about this book as well as all of Helene Hamp's books. And it says it's a beloved classic, a 20-year correspondence between an American writer and a British bookseller. And I believe they are actual letters that were sent between them. So very, very intrigued by it. I heard it is a great book for book lovers. It says that they share a winsome, sentimental friendship based on their mutual love for books. I feel like this is a must-read if you love to read. I also got The Shape of Darkness by Laura Purcell. I was hoping that Book Outlet would have The Silent Companions, but they didn't, so I just ended up getting this one and got The Silent Companions on Kindle. But this one also sounds really, really good. It says, as the age of the photograph dawns in Victorian Bath, silhouette artist Agnes is struggling to keep her business afloat. Still recovering from a serious illness herself, making enough money to support her elderly mother and orphaned nephew, Cedric, has never been easy. But then one of her clients is murdered shortly after sitting for Agnes, and then another, and another. Why is the killer seemingly targeting her business? Desperately seeking an answer, Agnes approaches Pearl, a medium lodging in Bath with her older half-sister and ailing father, hoping that if Pearl can make contact with those who died, they may reveal who killed them. But Agnes and Pearl quickly discover that instead, they may have opened the door to something they can never put back. The summary that I read didn't include the medium part, and I'm not generally a fan of books with mediums or talking to the dead or anything like that. Not really what I like to read, but I'm going to give this a try, and if it bothers me, I'll just DNF it. But I did really love the other Laura Purcell book I read, so I'm willing to give this a chance, and we'll just see how I feel about it. This next one I got because Kate Howe has spoken very highly about the author, the series. I actually have read a book by this author, but it's outside of the series, and that is the Betsy Tacy Treasury by Maud Hart Lovelace. And I read her book, Emily of Deep Valley, and I overall enjoyed it. So I definitely want to give these books a try. And this is a collection. So it includes Betsy, Tacy and Tib, Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Hill, and Betsy and Tacy Go Down. So it's just like children's classics with a lot of illustrations. And it's also very floppy. That is very satisfying. But anyways, very excited about this. And like I said, Kate Howe has spoken very highly of this series and just makes it sound like such a fun time. And it says, there are lots of children on Hill Street, but no little girls Betsy's age. So when a new family moves into the house across the street, Betsy hopes they will have a little girl she can play with. Sure enough, the moment Betsy meets Tacy, one of the most heartfelt friendships in all of children's literature begins. That sounds so fun. I'm very, very excited about this collection. This next book is the third book in a trilogy, and I thought it was the second one, but it's not. And that is The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl. And I read The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. That's the first book in this trilogy. This is the third book. I thought it was the second book. They did not have the second book on Book Outlet, so now I have books 1 and 3. That's okay. I'll eventually get book 2, but I really, really loved The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, and I just need to continue the series. So I got book 3. I'm not going to read the back, but it looks like Sherlock Holmes makes an appearance again, and Queen Victoria's involved, and I don't want to read too much more because I will spoil myself as well because I haven't read the second book yet. But this is book 3 in the Athena Club series, so very, very excited. This next book I was very, very excited to find on Book Outlet, and that is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. And this one I have heard is kind of like a retelling of Jane Grey during the Tudor period, but it's completely turned upside down and just comedic and ridiculous and a really, really fun time. So it says, the comical, fantastical, romantical, entirely, but not really, true story of Lady Jane Grey. Lady Jane Grey, 16, is about to be married to a total stranger and caught up in an insidious plot to rob her cousin, King Edward, of his throne. But that's the least of Jane's problems. She's about to become Queen of England. Like, that could go wrong. But I just heard it's ridiculous, funny, and just a good time. So I am very much looking forward to reading it. I also picked up the first book in the Lady Darby mystery series, and that is The Anatomist's Wife. And I don't know much about the series other than it is a Victorian era mystery series, and I've heard nothing but praise for it. So it looks like it's right before the Victorian era, like technically begins. It's 1830, and it's set in Scotland. So it says, following the death of her husband, Lady Kiera Darby has taken refuge at her sister's estate, finding solace in her passion for painting. But when her hosts throw a party for the cream of London society, Kiera is unable to hide from the ire of those who believe her to be as unnatural as her husband, an anatomist who used her artistic talents to suit his own macabre purposes. Kiera wants to put her past aside, but when one of the house guests is murdered, her brother-in-law asks her to utilize her knowledge of human anatomy to aid the insufferable Sebastian Gage, a fellow guest with some experience as an inquiry agent. While Gage is clearly more competent than she first assumed, Kiera isn't about to let her guard down as accusations and rumors swirl. When their search leads them to even more gruesome discoveries, a series of disturbing notes urges her to give up the inquiry. But Kiera is determined to protect her family and prove her innocence, even as she risks becoming the next victim. I've heard this is such a good story with a great plot and a lot of atmosphere, and it's set in Scotland, so I'm very, very excited. I also ended up getting The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meissner. I have yet to read anything by Susan Meissner. I have 2 other books by her that I need to read, but I am just convinced that she will become a favorite author. I'm convinced I will love her books. So I needed to grab this when I saw it on Book Outlet, and I am so glad that I did. It says April 1906. A massive earthquake rocks San Francisco just before daybreak, igniting a devouring inferno. Lives are lost and lives are shattered, but some rise from the ashes, forever changed. Sophie Wallen is a young Irish immigrant so desperate to get out of a New York tenement that she answers a mail-order bride ad and agrees to marry a man she knows nothing about. San Francisco widower Martin Hawking proves to be as aloof as he is mesmerizingly handsome. Sophie quickly develops deep affection for Kat, Martin's silent 5-year-old daughter, but Martin's odd behavior leaves her with the uneasy feeling that something about her newfound situation isn't right. Then, one spring evening, a stranger at the door sets in motion a transforming chain of events. Sophie discovers hidden ties to 2 other women. The first, pretty and pregnant, is standing on her doorstep. The second is hundreds of miles away in the American Southwest, grieving the loss of everything she once loved. The fates of these 3 women intertwine on the eve of the devastating earthquake, thrusting them into a perilous journey that will test their resiliency and resolve, and ultimately, their belief that love can overcome fear. I've heard that this book is such a journey, and it sounds like such a journey, so I am literally dying to read this. I can't wait. I have a couple more middle grades here. We have The Prophet Calls by Melanie Sumrow. And this one, I believe, is a cult story, which I haven't really read many cult stories. I can recall one off the top of my head, but I've heard really, really good things about this one. So I'm very, very curious to see what I end up thinking. It sounds really, really interesting, to say the least. It says, Gentry lives inside a polygamous community confined by a wall that keeps the rest of the world outside. She and the other members must follow the rules that the prophet imposes from prison, but soon his orders start verging on the extreme. Can Gentry find a way to protect herself and her family from the prophet? I actually like that the summary is very short and doesn't really give anything away. I'm very curious to see how this book tells a cultish story, but for a middle grade audience. Very, very curious. So I am looking forward to reading it. This next book I heard is absolutely incredible, and it sounds incredible. And that is A Kind of Spark by Ellie McNichol. This one sounds precious. It says, ever since Miss Murphy told us about the witch trials that happened centuries ago right here in Juniper, I can't stop thinking about them. If I were one of those women, I would want someone to remember me. I'm autistic. I see things that others do not. I hear sounds that they can ignore, and sometimes I feel things all at once. I won't let the witches be forgotten because there is more to their story, just like there is more to mine. This book sounds incredible. I can't wait to read it. Next up is 3 Words for Goodbye by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb, and they wrote the book The Last Christmas in Paris together, which I absolutely adored. I loved that book so much, so I'm very excited to have another book by them too. And this is set in New York, 1937. Europe is in turmoil and a second world war seems inevitable. But Violet Bell has unfinished business and needs her granddaughter's help. Estranged sisters Clara and Madeline reluctantly agree to travel to Paris, Venice, and Vienna together, echoing a journey Violet took 40 years earlier, inspired by famed reporter and globetrotter Nellie Bly. In each city, they'll deliver a letter in which Violet will say goodbye to one of the most important people in her life. Clara, ever dutiful, sees the trip as an inconvenient detour before her wedding to millionaire Charles Hancock, but it is also a chance to embrace her love of art, which her fiancé does nothing to encourage. Budding journalist Madeline relishes the opportunity to develop her ambitions as a writer, determined to report on the growing threat of Hitler's Nazi Party and Mussolini's control in Italy. Constantly at odds with each other as they travel on the luxurious Queen Mary and the Orient Express and explore the sights of Paris and Venice, Clara and Madeline wonder if they can honor Violet's wish, until a shocking family secret brings them closer together. But as they reach Vienna to deliver the final letter, old grudges threaten their reconciliation again. As political and sibling tensions arise, the pair are glad to return to America, but fate has a final hand to play in their journey home aboard the Hindenburg. That sounds very, very intense. I am very curious to see what I end up thinking about it. And this final book, I haven't heard really anyone talk about it. I haven't seen it anywhere on anyone's channel. I hadn't seen it on Goodreads, but I saw it on Book Outlet and I looked into it and it actually sounds so good and up my alley. And that is Miss Eliza's English Kitchen, a novel of Victorian cookery and friendship. I love to cook. I love food and I love all things kitchens. And this is set in the Victorian era. It just sounds so fun. It sounds so good. And like I said, I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but from what I've seen on Goodreads in terms of reviews and stuff, I haven't read like many reviews, but I've seen very high praise for it so far. So it says, England, 1835. London is awash with thrilling new ingredients from rare spices to exotic fruits, but no one knows how to use them. When Eliza Acton is told by her publisher to write a cookery book instead of the poetry she loves, she refuses, until her bankrupt father is forced to flee the country. As a woman, Eliza has few options. Although she's never set foot in a kitchen, she begins collecting recipes and teaching herself to cook. Much to her surprise, she discovers a talent and a passion for the culinary arts. Eliza hires young, destitute Anne Kirby to assist her. As they cook together, Anne learns about poetry, love, and ambition. The two develop a friendship, breaking the boundaries of class while creating new ways of writing recipes. But when Anne discovers a secret in Eliza's past and finds a voice of her own, their friendship starts to fray. And it also says it's based on the true story of the first modern cookery writer, and that it's a spellbinding novel about female friendship, the struggle for independence, and the transcendent pleasures and solace of food. That sounds so fun, and I am very, very intrigued by this book. And I hope I can read it soon, maybe for Victober. We shall see. Alrighty, so here are the books that I have recently acquired. There's a lot of purple. I really like that. That's satisfying. It's the little things in life, you know? So those are the books that I have recently acquired, majority from Book Outlet and a few from that small bookshop that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'm so excited about each and every one of these books. I wish I could just read all of them. I wish I had multiple brains so that I could be reading multiple books. I mean, I do read multiple books at once, but I wish I had more brains so that I could read all of these books at once. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate each of you for taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble. Rambling is something I'm very good at, but I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye.